Good morning, and we're with you for the complete hour leading up to the Vince Show on KCMO. We got a fine show lined up for you today, including a lot of goings-on in D.C. with the big, beautiful bill. We'll get into some of that a little bit later. We say goodbye to a longtime reporter in Kansas City who is calling it quits today, their last day. We've got that story for you, and we'll have some fun with Mark at the end, as we always have fun. We got a couple of celebrity wackos today to discuss at the end when we check in with Mark Van Parlay. We start today with something that happened over the weekend, and I think the interview was probably recorded on Friday. John Holt, who's been a guest on KCMO multiple times, the longtime anchor at Fox 4, does a Sunday show, kind of a local show for the people. And I think he records those interviews on Friday. I don't think it's live on Sunday, but it doesn't really matter. He did an interview with Ty Masterson, the president of the Kansas Senate, who made a lot of news last week by releasing publicly that they were going to extend the Star bonds. That was just hours after Pete Mundo broke the story right here on KCMO. And I'm not sure Ty Masterson would have come out and released what he released if Pete hadn't said, hey, this is going to happen. I think he felt some urgency to go ahead and go public with it, which was great. Transparency is awesome. We got to see it. And so John Holt has Ty Masterson on his Sunday show and asks him about the Chiefs and the letter Mark Donovan wrote to the Chiefs. And they had a nice long discussion, and he was beaming at the possibility of having an NFL franchise in the state of Kansas. It's the upper crust of sports franchises in the entire world. And for the state of Kansas, which is half the size of the state of Missouri population-wise, for the state of Kansas to have an NFL team, it would be a very big deal. Teams aren't really available. This would be something else, a feather in the cap, a quality of life issue, a bragging rights thing for the state of Kansas. And Ty Masterson was talking about all that. And he obviously is a very proud Chiefs fan and thinks they're on a very solid track to getting the Chiefs at the Legends in KCK. And toward the end, John Holt said, have you heard from the Royals? Did the Royals ask for an extension? And Masterson says, yeah, they didn't send a letter. They called me. They actually called me before the Chiefs sent a letter. And Masterson was insinuating, but the Royals wanting the Star bonds to be extended was not newsworthy. It just wasn't newsworthy. He waited until he heard from the Chiefs to go public with something. It was one of the most ginormous slams against a sports franchise I've ever heard. Literally, the president of the Senate, the head of the Senate in the state of Kansas, is doing a television interview where he says, yeah, the Royals asked for the extension first, but I didn't think that was newsworthy. We waited until the Chiefs and busted it out. I mean, the poor Royals in all of this. And Sam Mellinger's their outstanding PR guy, vice president. I've known Sam for a long time. And he's basically said, when there's something to discuss publicly, we'll discuss it publicly. We're all kind of on a need-to-know basis. There's sort of a feeling that the Royals are a ship at sea just kind of floating around with the currents, that we don't really know what's going on. Now, that's a lot of people around town that sort of portray them the same way, as not being the organization or the franchise or having the framework that the Chiefs have, not just generally not as professional. Part of that was brought on by the fact that they asked Jackson County residents to vote a year and a half ago on a half-baked plan that wasn't even drawn up or thought out until about a week before the election. They literally didn't have a location. They announced it last minute, kind of herky-jerky, right before the ballot. It was never going to pass. It never had a chance. The Royals' very initial studies and vote were completely unorganized. And so they've led this belief to be around the city that they just don't know what they're doing here. Now, I don't really think that's the case. I think they've got a pretty good idea what they want to do. The question is, can they pull it off and do it? I do think if the Royals had their choice, they would be in Missouri. I think they would be in Kansas City, Missouri, if they had their choice. But they've got to make that work somehow, some way. And they're not going to get a vote passed. I think they know that. But to have the leader of the Senate in Kansas come out on television and say, yeah, the Royals really called us first, but that wasn't really even newsworthy. We waited for the Chiefs, and here's Mark Donovan's letter, is the slam of all slams. And maybe it's a little peek into what's going on in Kansas. Maybe they think they don't really have a shot at the Royals, or they know that the Royals really in Kansas would be plan B, C, or D. that it's not anywhere near the top of what they want to do. I don't know. I just find things sometimes in interviews that come out and somebody says something. There's more to it than just, hey, I ignored their call. They called me. We didn't announce we were extending the star bonds. They called and asked me to do it. I didn't think much of it. Then I heard from the Chiefs, and it's big news. I think that's probably reflective of where the Royals are. I think it maybe is an indication that, like I said, that Kansas is somewhere on the back burner for them. They'll take Kansas. They'll do it, but it's not the option that they really want. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm not. Also over this weekend, a really nice piece at ESPN, which I don't say very often. I couldn't believe they actually published this story. We've been talking about the World Cup coming to Kansas City and the $50 million or whatever that we're spending to bring 6 World Cup matches to Kansas City. And the supposedly 650,000 or so visitors that are going to come to KC over a matter of about 3 weeks in June of 26. While in Los Angeles, they say they're only going to have 180,000 tourists. I like having fun with this. I'm cool that the World Cup is here. I don't like when politicians spend money that isn't voted on. It's amazing how much money's just lying around. So if Kansas and Missouri and the counties and the cities that we all reside in here found $50 million for this, we're obviously overtaxed. There's too much money, and they're spending too much of it. So I'm not down with $50 million to bring the World Cup. There's no, this is just rich people playing with our money. That's all it is. The elites with their hand in the cookie jar doing what it is that they want to do, and so they're going to do it. But that ship has sailed. We're going to have the World Cup. I like soccer fine. I respect what the World Cup is. It's maybe the biggest sporting event on this planet. They just finished the group stages in the United States. World Cup group stage, 48 total games. 48 total games. ESPN reports there were 1 million empty seats. In Orlando, for a World Cup group stage game, 3,412 people. In Cincinnati, 5,282. Let me be the first to ask this question. Will Arrowhead sell out? Will they fill it for the World Cup? While they're telling us 650,000 people are going to visit here, I'm asking the question, will there be empty seats? I'm serious. The average attendance of these group stage games was 34,000 in football stadiums. So the capacity for all 48 games of tickets sold was 56%. 56% of all tickets available were sold. That's it. That means, obviously, 44% of the seats were empty for the World Cup group stage matches. And like I said, some of these crowds were so minuscule you can't even make it up. The games were apparently televised on TBS and TNT and True TV, of which I didn't know. They averaged 360,000 viewers nationwide for World Cup group stage matches. I don't know what's going to happen when the World Cup comes to Kansas City, but I don't think it's exactly going to be what they're telling us it is. I don't think it's going to overwhelm. First of all, we can't fit 650,000 people in this town over the course of 3 weeks. They're going to sleep on the streets. They're going to stay at your house, my house. Where are they going to stay? So we can't even handle that. The number they're tossing out, we can't handle. It just can't be done. But I'm really worried about this. And look, it's not going to be any embarrassment to me, but I think for soccer fans it would be. I think Arrowhead will sell out. I think the World Cup itself should sell out. It would be hard to believe that it would be in any city in America that wouldn't fill the seats. And if people are traveling from all kinds of places, we're not really relying on Kansas Cityans to go in and pack the place. They can come from all over the world, theoretically. I think it will sell out. But after looking at 56% capacity for the group stage matches in the United States, it begs the question. If they got 60,000 seats at Arrowhead, are they going to fill each and every one? What do you think? 913-408-7957 is our phone number. Whatever's on your mind today is good with me. Dial us up. Get on the air. 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
You're listening to Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
Welcome back to the show. If you'd like to join us, 913-408-7957 is the number to call. And we're going to go to the phones with Paul in Overland Park talking about the World Cup club matches. Good morning, Paul. How are you, sir?
Kevin, how's it going?
I'm well, thanks.
Just want to modify a little bit of what you said about the attendance. What I noticed was it's the World Cup, it's the FIFA World Cup Club Championship. So it's
right.
It's like Inter Miami and like I think Manchester, some of the folks all over. So I think it doesn't quite have the followership that the World Cup's going to have. So I think your comment on why there was not a lot of attendance was because it's not the excitement that you bring when you bring your England or Spain or the Dutch over. So I think that's why you're just not seeing the excitement and the viewership like you would think next year when the cup comes to the U.S.
Yeah, your phone's got a weird connection, so I'm going to let you go, Paul, but I thank you for the call very much. He's exactly right, and I wasn't portraying it to be the World Cup that's going to be at Arrowhead next year. I'm not. It's more just a commentary on, okay, this stuff's on national TV. This is a big deal. They put it across 3 platforms. TBS has the rights to it. They're playing in football stadiums and trying to draw 60,000 people, and they're not getting it. So, yes, it's the Club World Cup group stage, and it is not the same thing as what we'll have at Arrowhead next year, clearly. I think Kansas City really is going to be a big part of the World Cup in Kansas City is going to be which teams do we get? I mean, obviously, if you got Mexico or something like that, the tickets are going to be so outrageously expensive you won't be able to get in the place. But I think a lot of it will be driven by what teams do we get here? And I mean, I don't know. I've not heard that the World Cup anywhere didn't sell out. But I think it's a reasonable question. If you look at the list of cities, if you were just, let's say you're a soccer fan and you're well-to-do and you live somewhere else and you're not necessarily about going to see your team, okay? If you're coming to the United States to see the World Cup, where's Kansas City on your list? It's got to be pretty near the bottom, and I love Kansas City. So, this is my home, and I love this town. But I'm very concerned. I think the reason I'm so concerned about what it may be like is they've just oversold this thing to us. They've tried to justify the $50 million they're spending or whatever. The Chiefs got in a spat with the city over, they're renovating Arrowhead as we speak. They've taken seats out. They're putting in these retractable things. Apparently it'll be ready to go for football season. They'll be okay, but they had to do a practice run this year to make sure they can even play soccer in that stadium next year. That cost a whole bunch of money. Pete reported earlier that was held up by several weeks. The Chiefs actually doing the work was held up by several weeks because they hadn't received their financing for it yet. The money that the city owed them, like $14 million to make this thing happen. It's just one grift after another. I think this is not really about sports for me or even city. It's about politicians just spending our money without us approving it. If they had a World Cup vote, like they had a Royals new stadium vote, it would have failed. There's no way this city would have voted yes to spend $50 million on the World Cup. It just wouldn't have happened. And I absolutely, from being in this business a long time, know when somebody is overselling something to you. And they're overselling us the World Cup. They're trying too hard to convince us that this is a game changer. And they've got the Kansas City Star as their partner. And I mentioned a piece a couple of weeks ago by Vahe Gregorian, who's an excellent writer and a fine man. Basically, he was writing that our entire city's reputation globally is going to hinge on how we do around the World Cup. And now they're telling us these stories that, Trump's border policy is really going to affect this. Maybe we won't have as many people in Kansas City as we thought because, nobody wants to come to America. Everybody's scared to visit here because, orange man bad. We can't go to the United States. Trump's going to put us in jail. This is the kind of stuff they're starting to say. After they oversold it, now maybe they're trying to undersell it. What's going on in Kansas City, Missouri with your water? And is it only Kansas City, Missouri? Did you see this story? Kansas City, Missouri officials have said, your water may smell bad and it may taste bad, but it's harmless. It's unpleasant, but it's harmless. It's okay. They're blaming it on heavy rains into the Missouri River and what washes in. So you're telling me Mother Nature pours down rain, the Missouri River gets dirty, Kansas City, Missouri's water smells bad and tastes bad, and it's harmless. That's the story you're going with? Have you heard this? Have you heard about the Missouri water at all? And if that's true, what about the water I'm drinking? I'm in Overland Park today. Is that water? I don't smell anything. Is it just Kansas City, Missouri that can't figure out how to clean the water up? I've got so many more questions than answers on this story. And I don't know how it can smell bad and taste bad and be harmless. Those things don't sync up with me at all. So be careful if you're drinking water in Kansas City, Missouri. Be very careful. All right, back to the phones we go. Here is it David? No.
Hi, Kevin.
Yeah.
Hey, you're right. This thing's been oversold. I think there's there's a lot of resentment, sort of an undercurrent of resentment floating around. You know, it was kind of a bait and switch. This is going to be so good for our city, and then, oh yeah, well, it's going to take $1 million here and $1 million there. And then the icing on the cake is this weekend. It was brought to my attention about the security. It's going to take hours. Once you get to the site, it's going to take hours to get parked and into the stadium because the security is going to be absolutely unreal because Kansas City is not going to risk having a negative a negative incident.
Well, this is part of the story I don't really understand. Why would security need to be any greater than it is for a Chiefs game?
Well, I don't think it would need to be any greater than it is for a Chiefs game.
Well,
but
you just described something that doesn't happen with Chiefs games.
They're more concerned. They want to lower that risk.
Well, I think the Chiefs want to keep lower risks too. I've never felt unsafe at a game out there. Have you?
I'm old, Kevin. Not since they went to Arrowhead.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of fights as a very young boy at the old Municipal Stadium.
Okay. All right.
No,
if you're talking about terrorism, if you're talking about a terrorist attack or something like that, that's a whole different animal. And maybe they're going to sniff every car that comes in. I don't know. Maybe they will do some things. Thank you for the call. Maybe they will do some things that are different for the World Cup than they do for Arrowhead with bomb sniffing dogs and things like that. I don't know, but
I think they're going to try to stop people from driving there at all. I think they're going to have parking sites and then bring people in via bus. I think that was what was spoken of earlier.
That sounds like a plan. It can't be everyone. You've got all that. I mean, your dignitaries are going to drive in there, right? You think Mayor Lucas is going to take a bus?
Yeah, certain people will get their way in there for sure.
Pretty sure the suite holders will be driving right up to the front. I don't know. I listen, if that's the case, then they're obviously concerned about something that, hey, listen, I've had conversations with the Chiefs and the Royals. They all know that their games, their stadiums can be targets for crime, for terrorism, whatever. We all know that. Is the World Cup a much greater target? Sure. Now, the Chiefs have played in all these Super Bowls, right? That's the ultimate sports target in this country. If something was going to happen, I mean, I don't know how much more secure you could make it than the NFL does for a Super Bowl. I don't know what they would add to Arrowhead for the World Cup for that. And I don't ever feel unsafe out there. I've never gone to a ball game and thought, okay, this is a dangerous target, whatever. And we've had incidents have happened. We've had all kinds of bad things have happened at games before. But I don't really see that as an unsafe place. And I guess if they're going to bus everybody in, good luck with that. Those might be tourists they're busing in, Mark. I don't know how many Kansas Cityans are going to want to take a bus and go to the World Cup. I can't see that really happening. All right, coming up, Bill O'Reilly said something really interesting to Pete Mundo earlier today, and a local reporter has been covering the Kansas City Chiefs for 32 years. I know him very well and have known him for many, many years. Today is his last day working. We'll discuss that and much more straight ahead on Uncanceled. This is KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM.
Whether you're a Jayhawk, Wildcat, Tiger, or KC Roo, we won't cancel you. Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
I think many of us agree that Donald Trump had his best week ever last week, between the big, beautiful bomb and bookending it this week, maybe with the big, beautiful bill. Trump got a lot of things done, and it had a lot of wins last week on so many fronts. Stock market record high, gas prices low, Iran-Israel peace, between a news conference and a peace deal with Congo and Rwanda, he decided to fire off a mean tweet to Canada that he's going to halt negotiations because they're playing games with a tariff and a tax. Mark Carney has immediately rescinded that tax. This was a digital services tax that Canada was going to implement against our tech companies. Carney has rescinded that and says he wants to negotiate. Trump posted. Seriously, it felt like something that he spent 5 minutes on between things that were way more important. And he just posted, I'll let them know in 7 days what their new tariff's going to be. I've had it with them. We're not negotiating. I'm just going to, give me 7 days. I'll tell you what your new number is, and screw you, Canada. And now Mark Carney is like, hey, whoa, we've got an exclusive negotiating period. We still have, 3 weeks left on. He's trying to get back in good graces. Trump's just messing with everyone. And it leads me to point out something that Bill O'Reilly told Pete Mundo earlier today on Mundo in the Morning. And it was, I thought it was just a tremendous analogy. Trump knows right now he can do just about anything. And I wonder why he hasn't done something like he could fire Jerome Powell theoretically and get lower interest rates and do that. But he's not doing it. And the question is, why are there some things that he's not doing? Are they politically bad? Will it lead to inflation, which could hurt him? What are the motivations for what he does and what he doesn't do? And Bill O'Reilly, when he was talking to Pete, made a very strong comparison to a sports team. And the second he made the comparison, I started thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs in last year's Super Bowl. I can't be the only one that thought the Chiefs were overconfident going into that game against the Eagles, that they were the better team. We've won all these games all year. We've won Super Bowls before. We've got this. We've got them, and they got hit in the mouth and never knew what hit them. And O'Reilly said that about Trump today. He said the danger of the Trump administration is they can become so filled with themselves for how well they're doing. Like there have been so many wins, so many good things, that overconfidence can creep in. And when that happens, bad things happen. I think we all recognize that excess in life is bad, okay? You can have too much confidence, too much ego, too much swagger. It can be a bad thing. You can get to that point. If anybody ever had the right to have it, it would be Donald Trump. And we don't necessarily see the signs of it right now, but we do kind of have to be careful. Pick your battles. He did a lot of winning last week, a couple of Supreme Court cases. I mean, he must just feel like king of the world, honestly. He went to the summit in Canada and bailed out early. He went to NATO, and the leader of NATO called him daddy. I mean, it's on. It's just Donald Trump's world, and everybody sees it and knows it. What will that mean? Can he handle this? I think he can, but I've certainly seen it in sports. I think the Chiefs fell victim to that. I think they will discuss it. Like if Travis Kelce retires in a couple of years, I think he's going to look back on that Eagles game and go, yeah, our head was not in the right place. We were overconfident and cocky and maybe forgot how hard this is. The Chiefs just didn't show up in that Super Bowl. I don't know how that's even possible. You can be playing in the Super Bowl and not show up, but they didn't. Andy Reid didn't adjust. He didn't change the game plan. He didn't alter things in game and make moves that coaches are supposed to make. They didn't do really anything right in that game. A lot of times that can happen to somebody who's accomplished, really great at what they do, but they kind of lose sight of it and forget how hard it is because they have so much confidence that they're doing that. I thought that was an interesting point from Bill O'Reilly, but Trump definitely had like the best week ever. Adam Teicher is a writer for ESPN.com. He was formerly with the Kansas City Star, and I've known Adam for his entire tenure in Kansas City. Today is his last day covering the Kansas City Chiefs. After 32 years, from Montana to Mahomes, he's posted on social media, I am literally on to the next mountain. Adam loves Colorado. He loves the Rocky Mountains, and I think he and his wife are going to spend a lot of time there now that he's retired. 32 years. I've tremendous respect for beat writers of teams because I think it's the hardest job there is. Not, you're kind of embedded. You can break stories and all those things, and Adam was one of the best. It's hard from this standpoint. I can't imagine only covering one topic my entire career. Like, it was a relief for me to do this format where I can talk about sports, politics, life, anything, compared to sports radio. So Adam was a regular guest on my show for many years when I was on sports radio. He's very knowledgeable, a tremendous professional, a really great guy, and 32 years where every day you're covering the same team, the same story every day for 32 years. That's hard work, folks. That's a grind. And I thought I sensed in his post on today being his last day, I sensed tremendous relief. Yes, this is my last day covering this team. I'm literally going to the mountains. And I'm done with football, and I'm done with the Chiefs. A job well done. Adam Teicher, truly one of the greats. And we appreciate all the great work that he did covering the Chiefs all these years in what I think is a very difficult job. Another sports writer named Christine Brennan, you may have heard her. She's with USA Today. She's written a book about Caitlin Clark, the basketball player. And I want to welcome Christine Brennan to Team Kevin because she has now done an interview promoting her book this week that she believes that Caitlin Clark and Nike could start their own league. The Nike Clark League. I don't know what they would name it, but Caitlin Clark is injured again. She gets beaten up all the time. The WNBA pays her $75,000 a year or something like that in salary. She gets $28 million from Nike and another $12 million combined from Gatorade and Wilson Sporting Goods. So Caitlin Clark makes $40 million a year, but like $100,000 of it's for playing basketball in the WNBA. She would clearly be worth a lot more than that if she owned her own league. She is women's basketball. Nobody cares about the league or any of the other teams. It's Caitlin Clark. She sells tickets. She gets television ratings. And, I mean, I don't even think it was a hard idea to come up with. I'm watching her take all this abuse, and she's the entire league. We watched this in golf. Tiger Woods was golf. For 15 or 20 years, Tiger Woods was everything. You did not have a golf tournament if Tiger wasn't in it. If he was in it, you had a golf tournament, and everybody watched, and it made a lot of money. She's that in women's basketball. And I don't think Christine Brennan or yours truly are going to be the last people to suggest this woman should just go out on her own. Why not? Why not start your own league? Own your own team. Start a league with 8 teams. There's plenty of places you can play. I guarantee you the Hunt family's all in. They'd love to have a women's team here, or Patrick Mahomes, and gladly take a women's team here if she started a league. You would have no problem finding owners. And now that Christine Brennan has put that out there and some people are discussing it a little bit more, it might be interesting to see what happens. At some point, somebody's going to ask her, why are you putting up with this in this league? Why do you let the other players discredit you, beat you up, the league not protect you for what you are, and that is the cash cow of this league. This league it's been a failing league forever. And along comes Caitlin Clark. And all of a sudden, people are watching, and they get a new TV deal, and they got rights fees, and people are buying tickets. She's something else. She makes $40 million in endorsements, and I think about less than $100,000 in actual salary to play in that league. It's crazy. When Guy Benson was in town a few weeks ago here, we got to spend a little time with him, and I talked to him briefly about a segment they did. You listen to Guy Benson every day on KCMO. At the end of the show, like the last 10 or 12-minute segment at the end of the show, it's usually kind of a toss around with Christine and the producers, and they're all talking about, and they usually have like one topic. And I brought up to him the day that they were talking about the younger generation of bar patrons. They use their card to pay for each drink at a time. If you go in a bar and you order a beer, you tab out. If you stay for 3 beers, you have 3 tabs. And it's driving bartenders all across the country absolutely crazy. And I wasn't sure how much of this was going on, but I've now read another story where apparently this is the trend, and it's gone viral with Gen Z. Is that right? That's the 20-somethings right now is Gen Z. Gen Z likes to pay for each drink with a card, and they say if you do it that way, you drink less and you spend less. I think I can see that. Can't you, Mark?
Yeah, I wonder, do they tip on each drink? Because
You have to, right?
maybe that adds up for the waiters or the bartenders, but I don't know. Maybe it's not as much if you don't have as high of a ticket.
I know. Yeah. So I've never seen it. I'm going to watch for it and see if I notice it in a restaurant or something. I'm not around, I guess, 25-year-olds in a bar that often. But I think that's a really interesting trend. I'm all for anybody, saving money or managing their money and watching how many drinks they have when they go out. I'm all for it. Good for you. If that's the basis of this, apparently the thing's gone viral. It's all over social media and stuff, TikTok videos. Hey, this is the way to do it. It's going to save you money and save your liver all at the same time. So that's the newest trend is go out for a drink with your friend, but pay for your drink. And I guess at that point, buying a drink for somebody else is just out of the question. You just don't do it. Everybody's got their own tab. You tab out every time. Each drink you order, bartenders are going crazy over this. They don't like it at all. 913-408-7957 is our number if you'd like to join the discussion. We come back. Bobby Witt Jr. needs your help. It's true. We'll do that next on Uncanceled. All right, Best Offer KC is helping you leave the hassle behind. 10% of the homes in Kansas City sell a non-traditional way. No repairs, no cleanings, no showings. That's where Best Offer KC comes in. Maybe you've inherited a house. Maybe you have a medical condition and need to move, or you know somebody in a sticky situation that needs to sell their house fast. If you know someone like that, advise them to go to bestofferkc.com. That's bestofferkc.com, or call 338-SOLD. That's 338-SOLD, and they're going to help you move quickly. They can even lend you money before closing to help you move if you need to move out and move on. It's bestofferkc.com, helping you leave the hassle behind.
Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled. 10 to 11 a.m. on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Uncanceled. Bobby Witt Jr. needs your help starting at 11 o'clock in about 10 minutes. Do you know what help he needs, Mark?
We need to vote for him to be the starting shortstop, right?
Do you know who is the leading vote getter at shortstop right now?
It's the guy from the A's.
It is the guy from the A's, and that's all anybody knows.
I can't think of his name.
Nobody knows. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
Jacob Wilson is batting .338, and he's younger than Bobby Witt Jr. I mean,
He's having a solid season.
yes,
I'll give
he
him that.
is. He's definitely having a solid season. Bobby Witt's having a good year, not the year that he had last year. But this is weird. So when I was a kid, I used to love this. I don't know if you were old enough to have ever the punch ballots.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those?
I did that every summer, yeah.
Every summer we'd go to the K. My sister and I would we'd take home hundreds of ballots.
We'd fill the ballot box.
Yes, we filled shoe boxes full of the things, and then came back to the games and dropped them in the box. We would take a pen or an ice pick or something, put them on a cutting board, and there'd be like 50 deep, and you just punch right through the George Brett thing right there, and we just sent them all back in that way.
Kind of like the presidential election in Pennsylvania in 2020, right?
Yes, exactly right. There were definitely hanging chads on the old All-Star ballots, but now it's all done online. And tell me if you think this is fair. They've been voting for a while, and Jacob Wilson right now has 1.8 million votes. Bobby Witt has 1.3 million. That is a huge lead for Jacob Wilson. It resets at 11 o'clock today. And for 48 hours, starting at 11 o'clock today, you can go to MLB.com/vote and vote for Bobby Witt Jr. to be the starting shortstop over Jacob Wilson. Now, not that Bobby's earned it, but he gets to start fresh. It's a 48-hour phase 2 ballot, and they both start with 0 at 11 o'clock today.
Now, from what I heard over the weekend, I was kind of looking into this over the weekend. Bobby Witt Jr. led last year at this point and then ended up being the backup shortstop because Gunnar Henderson got more votes in the second round or whatever it's called. So we could definitely help Bobby get over the hump here.
Got to get on it.
If we push for it.
How many times can you vote? Do you know?
It used to be 10 online. I don't know if it's still that way or not.
All right, it's MLB.com/vote. Or any Royals.com. You can go there and do it as well. So the starters will be announced on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So it'll conclude. It's going to go from 11 o'clock today until 11 o'clock Wednesday. 48 hours of voting.
When it first went to online voting, I signed up for like 5 different emails, and I was doing like 50 votes.
I mean, I think most people would say Bobby Witt's we wouldn't have even had this discussion before the start of this year. Who's the best shortstop in baseball? We were asking, is he the best player in baseball? Well, I think Aaron Judge is. I think that's a pretty easy call. Shohei Ohtani's probably the most valuable player because he pitches and hits. Does he really have like 30 home runs?
Yeah.
29. Unbelievable. And Judge has more than that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, do the Royals have that many as a team?
No. I saw a funny stat that if Bobby Witt played in the New York Yankee Stadium, he'd have 30 home runs, though. So
Really?
Yeah.
Ballpark matters.
Yep.
Yeah. The Royals went on the road and hit a bunch of home runs. They came home and didn't. How about this? Do you go to Costco? Are you Costco or Sam's Club, Mark?
I used to be Sam's. We don't have either right now.
Don't have either.
But
all those kids around the house. And you
I
don't.
know we should.
Man, I'm Costco for 2 main reasons: the toilet paper. It's cheap and it's good, and the $1.50 hot dog and a drink.
It's good.
You've heard of this,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So Costco swears they're never, ever going to price hike that. They lose money every single transaction, but they don't care. That's their thing. Well, I've only had one complaint about the hot dog and a drink, and that's Diet Pepsi instead of Diet Coke. I'm a Diet Coke snob. They're changing this summer.
They're going to Coke.
The food court is going to Coke products at Costco.
All right.
Now, they sell both products back in the aisle with the sodas and stuff, but the actual food court is switching to Coca-Cola products. Do you have a preference?
I generally don't. I tend to like Mountain Dew, which is Pepsi, but if I'm going Pepsi Coke, I usually go Coke.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a Coke snob. And people are. I've got a couple of good friends that are complete and utter Pepsi snobs. They're like, nope, Diet Pepsi's what I drink. That's it. And they don't like Diet Coke. So I guess to each their own. How about some actors going crazy? Charlize Theron, is she a superhero in one of the movies? Is she one of the Marvel movies?
She seems like she would be.
She's accomplished actress, right?
Yeah.
She says millions of people are going to die because Donald Trump cut off USAID funding. Millions of people are going to die. Trump is killing millions of people by cutting funding to USAID. Not to be outdone, Andy Richter, who used to be the sidekick to Conan O'Brien on that show, Mayor Cleaver's got nothing on these people, right? Cleaver said last week 51,000 people are going to die because the big, beautiful bill passes. Congressman Cleaver said last week that if the big, beautiful bill passes, 51,000 Americans are going to die. This is what they do. We're just killing people. The policies are just killing people. Andy Richter says in 20 years, MAGA will be used the same way we use the word Nazi today.
Uh-oh.
What? I don't understand. I don't know who these people are or how they think these things. That's absolutely insane. And another theme story that we kind of go back to here on Uncanceled is all these civil suits against athletes. We've talked about Trevor Bauer, the baseball pitcher who's been blackballed from baseball. He's won case after case against the women who were basically trying to swindle him out of money, blackmail him. And he was never arrested or charged with any crime at all. We've got another one, and I don't know what happened here, but this is BYU's quarterback who sold T-shirts last year. He's Jewish, and he plays at a Mormon school, BYU. And his nickname is BY Jew. And that's kind of funny, I think. I just think that's funny. So I like the kid. I like watching him play football. He's got a civil suit against him now for like sexual misconduct. And apparently just by admitting that he had sex with a woman, he gets suspended for 7 games at BYU. That's their policy.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
It's a rough policy. I'm going to guess most Saturdays when they play, the majority of the team is ineligible.
Yeah.
I'm just going to guess that. So I don't know what Jake Ratzlaff did or didn't do, but he's got a civil suit, and this all comes out, and he, of course, is defending himself. I hate that these stories become public because we don't know if he did something wrong or not. We don't know if it's a girl filing, not a criminal suit, okay? Not a criminal suit. There's no argument that they had sex. They agree with that. And she's civilly suing him, so that means she's just trying to get money out of him. I hate these stories, man. So this kid's name gets, again, we don't know if he did anything wrong or didn't do anything wrong. But you're going to hear his name and hear this story a lot, and I hate when these things become public like that. Mark, thanks for all your help today, buddy. We're going to steamroll our way to the 4th of July. I know you got big plans coming up, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Should be a fun week, I think.
We're going to set some stuff on fire, I think, Friday night. We'll blow some things up. This is Uncanceled. The Vince Show's coming up next. You're on KCMO Talk Radio.